She clawed my daughter's face open, so I dragged her by the neck and threw her through a wall of glass. The glass screamed louder than she did. Chips flew, soda cans burst, and Karen crash landed into a pyramid of off-brand root beer like a disgraced mascot at halftime. Somewhere behind me, a teenager whispered, "Is this still aisle 6?" No, this was justice, shelved alphabetically, right between payback and parenting. Logan Pierce didn't plan to start a war that day. He just wanted a bottle of water and 5 quiet minutes with his daughter before heading back to the paint store. It was a Tuesday, quiet, hot, and boring. The kind of day when even the wind felt too lazy to move. He and Mia stepped into the Briar Hollow Market, the dusty little convenience shop sandwiched between the community garden and the HOA club. The bell over the door gave a tired clang. "Daddy, can I get a candy?" Mia asked, looking up with her oversized glasses and that half-worried smile. She always asked like it was alone. Logan smiled, ruffled her hair. "Just one. I'll grab the water, you pick your sugar poison." She nodded and skipped toward the candy aisle like it was Christmas morning. Logan turned toward the coolers, scanning labels. Behind him, the store was nearly empty, just an elderly couple arguing over bread types and the cashier scrolling her phone. Nothing felt unusual, until it did. The shift was subtle, like when the clouds cover the sun, but it's still bright. A rustle of silk, the sharp clack of patent heels on tile. A voice, too smooth to be casual. Oh dear, how quaint. Logan froze. He knew that voice. Everyone in Briar Hollow did. Karen Mayfield, president of the HOA, destroyer of unauthorized patio furniture, wielder of bylaws like Holy Scripture. She floated into rooms like she was being filmed for a perfume ad and judged them like she owned the air. Today she wore white heels that gleamed like crime scene gloves, a blazer with golden trim and a scarf tied with the precision of someone who had rehearsed grief. Lucia. Mia stood at the end of the aisle, holding a Snickle bar, a clear knockoff brand, half melted. Her fingers clutched it like it might disappear. Karen towered over her, arms crossed, head tilted, with the smug weight of someone moments away from ruining a stranger's day. "Where's your mother?" she asked sweetly, her voice dipped in artificial vanilla. Mia didn't answer. Karen's smile twitched. "Of course," she muttered. "Biggers." She eyed Mia's worn sneakers, her frizzy braid, the bar in her hand. "Unattended, unsupervising, already stealing. Rats do breed fast." Mia blinked, lips parting, unsure if she should run or apologize. She glanced at the cashier, who quickly looked down again. Logan was still one aisle away, frozen with a bottle in hand, heart sinking into something slow and sharp. Karen leaned in just slightly. Her perfume hit like a scented slap. She looked me up and down the way a judge examines a crime scene. "Let me guess," she said, not bothering to whisper. "Daddy can't afford lunch, so you're helping yourself?" Her tone was fake concern layered over contempt, like frosting on a brick. Mia tightened her grip on the Snickle. Her cheeks flushed. "I didn't," she started, but Karen cut her off with a quiet chuckle. "Oh, sweetie, it's not about what you meant. It's about what kind of little girl you're becoming." Behind the register, the cashier froze. Even the bread-arguing couple paused. Karen turned slightly, her voice rising. "Is no one going to stop this? This child is clearly without a guardian." Her eyes narrowed, lips curling. "Where's your mother, little stray?" It's strange what people freeze for. A fire, a fight, a scream. They should make you move, act, run. But sometimes silence spreads faster than shock. That's what happened in aisle 4. No one said a word. Not the cashier, not the couple with the bread, not the teen by the fridge pretending to read a sports drink label. Karen filled the air like a virus made of authority and lavender. She pointed at Mia's chocolate bar as if it were a loaded weapon. "This is theft," she said crisply, loud enough for the entire store to hear. "Unaccompanied minor, shoplifting. This is exactly what happens when people ignore community standards." Mia's lip trembled. She looked down at the bar, then up again. "I was just waiting for my dad," she whispered. "He's getting water." Karen laughed. It wasn't a joyful sound. It was clinical, hollow, something rehearsed. "Oh, honey," she said, brushing a hair off her own shoulder. "Don't pretend like you don't know the rules. That's how it starts. Candy today, graffiti tomorrow, and next thing you know, your porch has lawn gnomes." She turned to the cashier. "Is this what we allow now? Strays wandering in and grabbing whatever they want?" The cashier said nothing. Her hand hovered over the register like she might press a panic button but couldn't remember where it was. Karen stepped closer. Too close. Her heels clicked with a sense of judgment. Mia backed up a step. I'm not a stray, she murmured, almost inaudible. Karen narrowed her eyes. Excuse me? Then, slowly, her hand reached out, not to guide, not to stop, but to humiliate. She plucked the snickle from Mia's grip with the flair of someone diffusing a bomb, then dangled it in the air. Trash doesn't get treats, she said, voice sharp as glass. Mia blinked. Her hand stayed where it was, frozen mid-air like time had hiccuped. Karen wasn't finished. I should have your father reported, she spat. This is neglect. A girl with no manners and no supervision. Classic case. Probably lives in a rental. Then came the moment. Quick, cruel, and quiet. Karen raised her hand, not high, not dramatically, just enough to swipe. Her fingers dragged across Mia's cheek, 4 fingernails slicing downward like they had something to prove. Mia gasped. Red lines bloomed instantly, bright against pale skin. She stumbled back a step, her foot slipping slightly on the tile. For a moment, she didn't even cry, just stared at Karen with wide, wet eyes full of disbelief. Erin adjusted her scarf, like brushing off the evidence. You should be ashamed, she muttered. Your whole generation should. Nobody moved. The air felt pressurized, like it was holding its breath. A teenage boy by the chips slowly pulled out his phone, but didn't hit record. A woman holding a gallon of milk glanced toward the door, but didn't step forward. The cashier's mouth opened, then closed. Karen, meanwhile, looked around like she expected applause. You're welcome, she announced, as if she had just saved the store from an infestation. This place used to have standards. I helped write them. And that's when it happened. Not a crash, not a yell, just one small broken noise. Mia finally cried out, a sharp, rising sob that sounded like it had been trying to escape since the moment Karen arrived. It cut through the store like a wire snap. In the beverage aisle, Logan's hand froze on the fridge door. His ears caught the sound, and something behind his ribs twisted violently. He turned, and then he saw the blood. Logan didn't walk fast. He didn't run. He didn't shout. He just moved. Slow, deliberate, like the air had thickened and every step had weight. The bottle of water was still in his hand, clenched so tight the plastic creaked. Mia stood by the checkout, frozen, blood curling down her cheek in 4 perfect lines. Karen turned as she noticed him, still holding the candy bar like a badge of righteousness. Her mouth opened. Oh, you must be her father, she said, with mock sweetness, as if greeting a customer service complaint. There's been a small misunderstanding. She was unsupervised and handling merchandise, quite aggressively, I might add. Logan didn't respond. He didn't even blink. His boots tapped against the tile floor, each step sharper than the last. Karen took a half step back, her voice faltering slightly. I was simply trying to intervene, correct behavior, as is my responsibility as HOA president. Logan reached her before the end of her sentence. He set the water down on the counter beside the register and calmly, silently, took her wrist in one hand, not roughly, not violently, but firmly, like closing a drawer you no longer need open. Her scarf fluttered slightly. Excuse me? She gasped, eyes wide, but Logan's expression didn't change. The cashier's hand twitched toward her phone. A man by the chips turned slowly, eyebrows raised. The boy by the frozen section raised his phone and tapped record. Karen's smile turned brittle. This is assault, she hissed, glancing around. Someone stop him. This man is putting his hands on a woman. But no one moved. No one even flinched. Logan leaned in slightly, his voice quiet, calm, surgical. She's 7, he said. You put your hands on my daughter, that makes this a response. Karen tried to jerk her arm back, but Logan held it steady and began walking, guiding her. Not yanking, not dragging, just walking. Karen stumbled beside him, heels clicking too fast, trying to keep up, trying to regain control. This is inappropriate, she snapped. You're making a scene. Logan didn't reply. He turned the corner into aisle 6, where towers of cereal loomed like silent jurors. More phones came out now. The team by the milk, a woman pretending to check canned corn. Even the old man with the bread had his phone halfway up. Karen tried to smile at one of them. You're all witnesses, right? This man is out of line. But the faces watching her weren't sympathetic. They weren't even curious. They were fed up. And Logan kept walking, past the cereal, past the paper towels, Karen tried to straighten her scarf again, but Logan gently moved her hand down. You need to let go, she said, her voice cracking. You don't understand who I am. I'm on the board. Logan gave the smallest nod. Not anymore. Karen gasped like someone had slapped her ego. You're insane, she stammered. This is harassment. You're going to regret this. They passed a seasonal display, pumpkin-themed everything. A little girl by the shelf stared at Karen like she was watching a ghost. Karen tried to cover her face. Logan didn't stop. Then came the voice, a whisper from the end of the aisle near the dog food section. Boy, maybe 10, said to his older brother. That's the woman who made my sister cry every Halloween. The brother nodded slowly, never looking away from his screen. Yeah, she slashed our jack-o'-lanterns, said they were non-compliant. Karen tried to pull her arm away, but Logan's grip was like gravity, uninevitable, patient, unshakable. Her heels skittered on the tile, trying to maintain whatever dignity she had left, but it slipped with every shaky step past canned soup and dog biscuits. This is inappropriate, she hissed. I'm a respected member of this community. Logan didn't even look at her. He turned the corner into aisle 8, the paper goods section, lined with towers of toilet paper and rows of cleaning wipes. Karen's voice jumped a pitch. I'll have you arrested. I'll have your property condemned. I'll have your daughter barred from school activities. Do you hear me? Logan stopped so suddenly that Karen bumped into his back. He turned his head slightly and, without raising his voice, said, She's 7. You put your hands on her. Keep talking. Then, as if performing a casual chore, he pivoted and pushed her gently but firmly into the end-cap shelf. The impact wasn't hard enough to hurt, but it was loud. Rolls of toilet paper tumbled to the ground like popcorn. One bounced and hit her shin. Karen gasped, staggering, grabbing the rack for balance. One of her earrings, a pearl droplet, hit the floor with a soft clink. You're insane, she whispered, but the phones kept recording. The paper goods display stood like a backdrop in a courtroom, sterile and indifferent. From the makeup aisle, a middle-aged woman with a cart leaned slightly toward another shopper and whispered, She found my grandma $200, 0 cents, because her porch chair had a cushion with flamingos. The other woman nodded, lips pursed. She banned our block's little free library, said it was a violation of visual consistency. Karen tried to stand straight, brushing at her blouse, but her voice was fraying. Hey, run the board. I run this HOA. You can't treat me like this. I represent the standards. Logan looked at her for the first time in minutes. Really looked. His face was calm. Not angry, just done. You were, he said simply, and walked again. Karen tried to keep up, but stumbled, one heel bending sideways. This is madness, she yelled, louder now, as if volume could reassert control. He's assaulting me, and you're all just standing there. Nobody responded. Not one person stepped in. Not because they were afraid, but because they remembered. Remembered the citations, the threats, the HOA meetings that ended in tears and fines. They remembered the little boy who couldn't have a birthday banner because it didn't match the HO-approved color scheme. They remembered her smile when she handed out punishments like Halloween candy. The crowd watched, not with pity, but with precision. She wasn't being silenced. She was being seen. They reached the cleaning aisle. Logan didn't speed up. Karen tried to yank herself free one last time, but her strength was unraveling. Let me go, she spat. You're making a fool of yourself. Logan didn't answer. He didn't need to. Her reflection in the glass fridge door beside them said everything. Her bun was unraveling, her scarf askew, her face red, her mascara smudged. She looked like someone who had just learned rules, didn't apply, in both directions. And just before they turned the next corner, a teenager filming the whole thing leaned toward his friend and whispered, She used to patrol our block like a cop. The friend grinned, still recording. Not today. The doors were in sight now, those wide panes of spotless glass at the front of the store, bordered by seasonal snack displays and the promotional banner that read in bold, HOA-sanctioned font, Community starts with respect. Karen staggered forward under Logan's firm guidance, her blouse untucked, scarf flapping behind her like the flag of a regime that didn't realize it had already fallen. Her breathing was sharp, erratic, between gasps and insult. You don't understand who I am, she snapped, twisting slightly in his grip. You think this makes you righteous? This makes you a criminal. You're done. You're finished. I'll destroy your life." Outside the window, a small crowd had begun to gather. Shoppers, joggers, two teenagers on e-scooters, all drawn to the glass by the noise, the tension, the energy of something happening. Inside, every phone in the store was pointed in their direction now. Some people watched silently, others whispered, nodded. One woman mouthed, "It's her." Another raised her camera higher, framing the scene like a trial. Karen caught sight of them, and for a moment her voice shifted into something almost performative. "This man assaulted me," she barked, gesturing wildly. "He's deranged. He's threatening me in front of my community." She tried to stand tall again. "I am this community." Logan didn't answer. He turned her toward the display. The carefully stacked boxes of sparkling water, the many flags, the brittle message printed above it all. Karen struggled, flailed, cursed under her breath. "You can't do this," she snarled. "You touch me again, and I'll sue you into homelessness." Logan looked at her like she was paperwork. Nothing personal, just something that needed correcting. And then, without a word, he let go just long enough to regrip her shoulder with both hands, took a single step back, and launched her forward. Karen's body hit the glass with a sickening crack, then went through, snapping the edge of the display as it collapsed in a wave of color-coded soda cans and a rain of falling wrappers. The glass didn't explode. It screamed. It buckled, then shattered like a verdict. Karen fell with it, arms flailing, heel snapping midair. The banner tore in half as she went down, the word respect folding in on itself as it disappeared under the mess. Outside, gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones rose higher. One man dropped his iced coffee. Karen hit the sidewalk in a heap of packaging, pride, and defeat. She didn't move right away. A can rolled beside her ear. Her once pristine hairdo was a matted crown of broken strands. The air outside was still. The only sound was the slow flutter of the banner as it finally came to rest across her back like a shroud. Inside the store, Logan stood silent for a beat. The lights hummed. The cashier stared motionless. Then a shuffle of feet, the smallest one in the room. Mia stepped forward from where she'd been frozen, still clutching her cheek, eyes wide. She walked past the shattered entrance, through the trail of fallen merchandise, and reached down to the floor, her fingers curled around the same snickle bar she had held when it all began. It was bent now, dusty, but still whole. She looked up at Logan. Her face was calm, streaked with drying blood. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. By the time Logan and Mia made it home, the clip had already hit 15,000 views. Someone had cut it into a perfect 30-second TikTok. The slow walk down aisle 6, the spin by the toilet paper, the glass shatter in slow-mo, captioned with bold white text, "Justice in aisle 6. Another version showed Karen lying in the wreckage beneath the slogan banner, freeze frame with the phrase, "She started with candy, ended with karma." Logan didn't post it. He didn't need to. The internet had done what the HOA never could. It paid attention. That evening, the HOA's emergency chat exploded. Screenshots leaked, voice notes surfaced. One board member resigned via text. "I never supported her methods. I was pressured." Another went viral for a voice message that said, "She made me fine a veteran for wind chimes. I'm done being part of this circus." The HOA's official website went down for scheduled maintenance. Their Facebook page turned into a war zone, comments pouring in, memes posted by people who didn't even live in Briar Hollow. A screenshot of Karen mid-scream became the new face of overreach. And just like that, the face of authority cracked. Whiter than the glass she went through. Then came the audit. A neighbor named Kleina, former treasurer, dug into public spending reports. In less than 24 hours, she uncovered Karen had approved 4 landscaping upgrades to her own yard, all funded by community aesthetic improvement grants. 2 nail salon charges were labeled board outreach. A $600 0-cents dinner for HOA Appreciation Week was held at a restaurant her cousin owned. The local paper picked it up with the headline, "President of HOA breaks more than windows, breaks trust." That was when the HOA president email began bouncing back with an auto reply, "This address is no longer monitored." Logan didn't speak much that night. He made dinner, checked Mia's cheek again, gave her extra sauce with her nuggets. She sat curled up on the couch, still in her shoes, watching the video on someone's phone screen. She watched herself, small and silent, stand in front of Karen. Then she watched Logan walk into frame, watched the shelf shake, watched Karen fly. She blinked slowly. "Why are people cheering for us?" she asked, voice soft, curious. Logan dried his hands on a towel, leaned against the counter. "Because someone finally said no," he said. Then he sat beside her and watched the silence between them fill with something new. Relief. Outside, the porch lights flickered on. Somewhere down the street, wind chimes rang, soft and clear. They hadn't been heard in a long time. Someone had dared to put them up again, and no one took them down. Not this time, not anymore. But as the night deepened and Mia drifted into sleep, a new sound arrived. A knock on the door, sharp, polite, too official to ignore. Logan stood, heart still, and opened it. On the mat sat an envelope, gold-trimmed, embossed seal, no return address. Just one line printed on the front: "To Logan Pierce from the interim HOA Council." The envelope sat untouched on the counter for hours. Logan didn't rush to open it. He already knew what was inside. After the viral storm, the resignations, the audit leaks, and the late-night apologies from board members who claimed they never supported her methods, there was only one direction the HOA could go: damage control. When he finally tore it open, the letter was crisp, formal, and desperate. They wanted him to join as community liaison, a role invented on the spot, equal parts title and trap. "Your presence is not only welcome," it read, "it is necessary to restore faith." Logan laughed once, dry and short. Not because it was funny, but because it was expected. He didn't respond right away. Instead, he watched Mia. She had begun to sleep through the night again. The wound on her cheek had scabbed over, and the weight in her eyes had lessened. He thought about the word restore and what it meant to a child who had never felt protected in her own neighborhood. So when he walked into the clubhouse 3 days later for the emergency meeting, he wasn't there to sit, he was there to speak. The room was full, residents packed tight, folding chairs squeaking beneath decades of frustration. On the board's long table sat a polished nameplate: Logan Pierce, interim liaison. A spotless chair waited behind it. Logan walked past both without a glance. Murmurs rippled as he stood near the podium. One man at the front cleared his throat. "Mr. Pierce, we'd like to thank you for accepting our invitation. We believe with your guidance—" Logan held up a hand and the room went still. "I didn't come here to lead," he said, voice steady. "I came to clarify something." He reached into his jacket and pulled out the HOA badge that had come with the letter. Gold, engraved, hollow. He held it up for all to see. "Karen didn't fail the system," he said. "She was the system. She used every tool this HOA gave her, every unchecked vote, every vague regulation, every silence from this room, and she turned it into a weapon." The silence shifted, heavy, dense, true. Logan looked at the badge, then in one sharp motion, he snapped it in half. The sound cracked through the room louder than any gabble. Gasps echoed. Someone dropped a pin. He placed the two broken pieces on the table, then turned the nameplate to face the crowd. "You don't fix a system like that with a new chair. You bury it." He walked back from the podium, not toward the empty seat, but toward the crowd. Applause didn't erupt. It ignited. First hesitant, then rising like fire catching dry wood. People stood, not for politics, not for procedure, for relief, for recognition, for something that finally felt like truth. Mia was sitting in the front row, legs swinging just above the floor. For a moment, she looked like she wasn't sure what to do. Then, as the applause swelled around her, she stood, not because anyone told her to, not because she had to, but because something in her chest had shifted. Something quiet and powerful. She smiled. Not shy, not forced, real, proud. The scar on her cheek caught the overhead light like a line drawn in ink. Something finished, something permanent. And as she looked up at her dad, Logan felt the room disappear. Just for a moment, just long enough to know what came next had to matter. A week after the vote, Logan and Mia returned to the store, not because they needed anything, really just because. The front window had been replaced, but you could still see a faint discoloration where the old glass had shattered. The paper towel display was smaller now, the slogan banner replaced with a hand-lettered sign that read, "Please be kind. This place has seen enough." Inside, the same cashier stood at the register. She looked up, startled for just a second, then smiled. "Welcome back," she said softly. Mia didn't respond right away. She walked to the same aisle, the same shelf. Her hand hovered for a moment, then picked up a Snickle bar. This time no one stopped her. As they left the store, Mia clutched the candy bar to her chest like a trophy. The air outside felt different, not lighter exactly, but cleaner. The neighborhood looked almost unfamiliar. Someone had strung soft yellow lanterns along the fence near the park. A family had set up folding chairs on their lawn and were sharing lemonade with neighbors. On one porch, a group of kids played cards, while wind chimes sang lazily in the breeze. No one shouted, no one measured grass height, no one issued warnings. It wasn't utopia, but it was theirs, and it was healing. They passed the clubhouse on the way home. The front lawn had been reseeded, the flower beds replanted. The HOA banner was gone, replaced with a wooden plaque that read in white paint, "This place belongs to kindness." Below it, someone had added, "No badges required." Logan paused just long enough to read it twice. A neighbor walked by with his dog, nodded. "Nice work in there," he said, gesturing toward the building. "About time someone tore it down without touching a single wall." Logan smiled, but didn't reply. Some victories didn't need commentary. Karen's house still stood at the end of the cul-de-sac, but it didn't feel like it. The garage was shut, dust blooming on the trim like neglect finally had permission. The stone lion statues had been removed from the porch. No cars in the driveway. The mailbox sagged slightly to one side. Someone had taped a note to the door weeks ago. It was still there, sun-bleached and curling. Logan couldn't read the words anymore. He didn't need to. The silence around the house spoke louder than any letter. Mia looked up at him, her voice just above a whisper. "We don't have to be scared anymore, right?" Logan looked at her. She was still holding the Snickle, still had the faint scar thin and healed across her cheek like a reminder drawn in soft pencil. "Not if we remember," he said. Then he took her hand. They walked the last stretch home without speaking, just the rhythm of footsteps on pavement, the breeze in the trees, the porch lights flicking on, one by one, like the neighborhood was exhaling after holding its breath too long. That night, they sat on the porch swing under a sky that didn't feel heavy. No orders, no threats, just stars. And the promise that next time someone like Karen tried to rise, the community would remember what happened the last time. And who finally stood up? Sometimes justice doesn't wear a robe, it wears work boots and walks down aisle 6. This story wasn't just about broken glass or bent rules. It was about a little girl, a quiet father, and a neighborhood that finally woke up. When bullies hide behind policies, silence becomes their favorite weapon. But one no at the right moment, that's louder than any HOA megaphone. So whether you're holding a candy bar or a camera, stand up, speak out, and when the time comes, make sure your community belongs to kindness, not control. If this story hits you like it hit that glass, tap like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment below. What would you do if it were your daughter? And if you're still here at the very end, drop a "still standing" in the comments. Let's see who remembers